Hello. So today we are going to talk about the first lesson of story writing, that is the questions that come. Now, before you actually start this lesson, the first thing that you should know is that this lesson is aimed for the school level people, right? The being people who get story writing as their questions. So, our target audience, that is, this course is meant for anybody who wishes to write stories. However, the point is that if you just want to write a story and you are not in school, who has no intention of giving a story for a question paper, this lesson is specifically not for you. So if you're a school child and have exams in front, then my boy, best of luck. Let's just go ahead with the course and see the types of questions that can come. Now, the first thing that can come is the starting line will be given. Alright, now for all of these types we will obviously be looking at examples, we'll discuss how to do them and we'll look at them, but what happens if a starting line is given? Now, a starting line, if it's given, then in all probability you will see that no names are given, right? Because if a name is given, then it hinders your ability of character creation. That is, you can't create characters very freely because a name will be given. So maybe it will be in pronouns, right? Also remember that the first line of the story is very important in order to guess the tone of the story. Right now, words like tone, setting may be a little bit bizarre to you, but I promise that in the next lesson we are going to cover it in the lesson titled Elements of Stories. So the thing that you need to do when you have a starting line given is you need to get the hints. That is, what is important, what is not important, what sort of a story it is going to be. The next type of question that can come is that the ending line will be given. And if an ending line is given, then you can guess the theme of a story. What is the theme again? Next lesson. Also, if an ending line is given, it helps you figure out the plot. You know why? Because when we go through a lesson of thinking or creating the plot, then you will see that we are advising you to, actually think of the ending first and then work your way, like do a bottom up approach. And if the ending line is already given, then you already know what's going to happen in the end, so you can always create a plot with much more elan and grace. Also, again, the ending line will give you the tone of the story, help you understand how it can be. And again, the ending line can have possible hints to the protagonist, because usually a story ends with the name of a protagonist. I mean, most stories do. So even if there's a pronoun, then it's okay, you'll understand the gender of the protagonist. But if there's no pronoun, then you can guess the name of the protagonist, so you can understand a bit, that is, what is going to happen. Like when we do the examples, I'm going to tell you how to study the hints and stuff. So the next thing, and the easiest one basically, is that the plot will be given, with dotted lines connecting the dots. So in this case you'll require minimal effort. That is, you don't have to do anything, the plot will be given, and if the plot is given, you just need to put sentences in between. Also remember that if the plot is given, avoid controversies. If it's given that there has been a bomb blast and something, stop naming groups of people or stop naming names basically. Again, if a plot is given, it will be given in point form, and it is imperious that you do not forget any point at all. Because the moment you forget a point, you are not sticking to the given plot and your marks would be deducted. Also, don't add too much verbiage. What is verbiage? That is, don't add too much, extra stuff to your story. Yes, maybe one or two lines, a little bit of twist is fine, but don't add a lot. Now, title given. So this is like the highest degree of freedom that you have. The title is given to you. Okay. Now, why is there a freedom in this case? The simple reason being that if the title is given to you, you do not need to specifically stick to a plot or a starting line or an ending line. So basically the main three things of a story are in your hands. So this is like the best degree of freedom. Again, remember that no matter how much out of the box you are thinking, a plot has to be in relation with the title, right? So say you have something like why I love apple. So in that case, instead of saying about the fruit, you can say that maybe you have a friend whose name is Apple. So I'm just giving you an example, but again we'll do the analysis in the example. Also, try and be as innovative as possible. Okay, I actually remember I had a friend who won this national level essay writing competition, and he was given an essay to write on time, and he wrote about a terrorist institution that manages things efficiently. So he made that into a short form TIME. So please think out of the box. Again, if characters are given, it's like the second highest degree of freedom. You will have an opportunity to, make your plot on your own and give the, what do I say, give the starting and ending lines on your own. But also remember that if characters are given, usually 3 to 4 characters will be given to you. And if characters are given to you, then what you need to remember is that each character needs to have equal contribution, right? You can't make one character have a lot of work in the story and the other to die in the beginning. It's just not allowed. Also, possible win-win scenario should appear, but this is not very important. That is, every character should be satisfied in the end. Okay. Now, examples. So, if the first line is given, consider this. It was dark and stormy night, but she didn't care. She had had enough. She stormed out of the door and... So, let's analyze it bit by bit. Okay. So, it was dark and stormy that night. So, what you get from the fact that it was dark and stormy, okay, I'm just gonna underline it right here, is the fact that the tone of the story is gonna be possibly a little bit grim, because there's a lot of disturbance in the beginning. So she didn't care. So you have a protagonist here who is a bit rebellious and who maybe is angry, and obviously who's a girl. So probably you're looking at some sort of a heroic girl, okay? She had had enough. So again, you have a hint towards the fact that she, like she was maybe tortured, or she was maybe not kept happy, and she tolerated it for all these days but didn't do it anymore. So she stormed out of the door. So she took a step towards her freedom, and then your story begins. So these are the hints that you have, and please adhere to them. Now, if the ending is given, and although everything wasn't as great as it should have been, Oliver was happy. Now the first thing that you have here is Oliver, name of the protagonist, okay, the possible protagonist. He was happy, which means that in the beginning of the story he was sad, okay, and everything wasn't as great as it should have been. So this story is possibly trying to hint at the fact that Oliver had some expectations and he was sad because they were not met. But in the end, though he didn't meet all expectations, he was happy. So there you get a little bit of plot, and now you can make up stuff. Now, plot given. So we'll just look at a very common example, that is the crow example. So thirsty crow needs water, finds empty vessel with less water. Puzzled, finds stones, drops till the water rises, drinks and feels satisfied. So this is a story that all of us have read, and I'm just showing you how points can be formed into a story, right? These are the points basically that you might use to form that crow and river water drinking story. Now, title given, alright? The missing letter. So, the missing letter, now in this case what you have first is the missing letter, okay? The M word. So when you have missing, it possibly hints at the fact that it's a thriller. Maybe a thriller is expected out of you. But again, like I said, if the title is given, you have a really high degree of freedom, okay? So you can even make it a funny story, a love story, whatever it may be, okay? But what's important is the word letter, okay? So remember that this word letter has to be there, right? The letter is important because that is what is important here. That is what has gone missing somehow. And in your story, there has to be a missing letter, right? It doesn't matter what the plot of your story is or what the theme of your story is. The point is that there has to be a missing letter. So, characters given: a lion, an empty house, and a little girl. So, now you have 3 characters given, right? And also look at the fact that there's an empty house as a character. So this just proves to you that a character necessarily doesn't have to be live or have to be human. So an empty house, if it's given as a character, what you need to understand is the fact that this house should have a lot of significance in the story. Okay, maybe all your events take place in this house, or maybe something or the other happens in this house that is very important in context to the plot. But what's there to remember is the fact that the word empty is given before the house. Okay, please note these hints. Don't forget them. This empty word means a lot, and it just clearly signifies the fact that the house is probably haunted, probably mysterious. So please get these hints and work it out. Okay, we are going to move on to elements of stories. That is, every should have some elements, and we are going to see what they are after this lesson. And we hope you enjoyed the lesson. Okay, please feel free to post your queries in the comments below, and I'll answer them as fast as possible and to the best of my efforts. So, thank you, keep watching, and we hope you had a nice time.